Hello and welcome to another Unity live stream. My name is Joy and I am your host, and I'm so happy to see you all again for another really awesome topic. In the chat, I see we've already got a lot of people coming over to say hello. Ooh, look at this. Hi, Manu. How's it going? Golden Character Design. I see Bull, Davina Duckworth. Everybody, so great to see you. Really exciting to have you join us today. So, speaking of today, we've got a really awesome subject. So, as some of you may know, I actually have been a Unity developer for a really long time, and one of the coolest things about this job is that I get the opportunity to meet people who create the tools and games that I'm already a fan of. So, really, while I'm thrilled that I'm able to bring like really interesting topics to you guys, I'm also really excited that I get to kind of fan out about a lot of these things. And this is one such topic. So today we are going to be talking about a tool that I personally use in my own development, and I think a lot of you do too, or are curious about it. So hopefully if you are curious, this is your opportunity to learn and get inspired to try Odin. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest, Andreas and Antonio, to the stream. Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Really good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've been really excited to have the opportunity to chat with you guys and really explore everything that Odin has to offer, because I personally know that I am not taking full advantage of Odin, so I'm really excited to see all the shiny stuff that you're going to be able to show us today.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to help you a little bit along the way, as much as the time of the stream allows. But should be
Absolutely,
able
yeah.
to get you a few steps further.
Yeah, this is one of those subjects that could definitely like go off forever. But no, we're within our live stream time bounds. But first things first, let's go ahead and let's do some introductions. Let's go ahead and start with Andreas. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
My name is Andreas. I run the marketing department at Sirenix. We're the creators of, I think we'll get into that a little bit more. I have a background in YouTube. I used to run the Brackeys YouTube channel. That's a number of years ago now, but or I'll be part of running it. And then for a little over a year, I've been with Sirenix and joined that fantastic team. Yeah, that's who I am.
Very cool. And Antonio, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Antonio. I work for Sirenix for, I think, almost 6 years now. I've worked on Odin Inspector, Odin Validator, and the Serializer, and I'm also extremely active on the support channel. So if you're part of our Discord community, you will find me there as well. And also some other custom stuff we're doing right now for Penguin, which we might talk about later.
Ooh, exciting. Ooh. So definitely a subject that we will be touching on a little bit later in the stream. But already I'm seeing in chat that we've got a lot of folks who are joining who do own Odin and have tried it, but maybe they need to see like a little bit more of the shiny stuff, so that you've definitely come to the right place. This is really exciting for me, for everybody, so this is going to be great. But for those who have actually joined the stream because they've heard the name Odin a lot, because they've probably been on the asset store, but maybe they're not necessarily sure what Odin really even is, why don't we start there? Andreas, can you tell us a little bit about like just broad level, what is Odin?
Yeah, so Odin is a suite of tools for editor tools for Unity. We have Odin Inspector, Odin Validator, and Odin Serializer. I don't think we're going to be diving too much into Odin Serializer today, but essentially it's a very robust serialization backend. We open sourced it back in 2018, and now it's become a part of many frameworks and tools out there, etc. But Odin Inspector, which is our most used tool, asset, whatever you want to call it, out there, basically allows you to completely customize the Unity editor to fit your workflow. It allows you to very quickly create custom inspectors, editors, or like advanced tooling, whatever might fit your needs. So basically, how I like to describe it is that Unity is such a versatile platform or framework, and that means that all of the projects that are going to be created in it are also extremely different from one another. So it allows you to take your workflow and make the engine fit to your needs, instead of having to kind of force your own workflows onto Unity. And then we offer the Odin Validator, which is the most powerful validation tool built for Unity. And essentially what it does right out of the box, it scans your entire project in real time as you work, without getting in your way. That's a pretty important point to make there. And scans for errors or bugs and whatever to kind of make sure that you catch those as you work, instead of having to only catch everything in the QA cycles towards the end, and make sure that no bugs ever reach the final build. And it has a bunch of different features. We're gonna dive much more into this, but you can bulk fix and fix thousands of bugs at the click of a button. You can have automatic scene view changing. You can set up different validation profiles. For example, a developer might need one set of custom validation, and a designer might need something else. So you can very easily set up different profiles and change between those as your needs kind of depend on it. And then we're also building something brand new, cross-platform UI library called PanGUI, which is going to be completely dependent. It's going to have 0 dependencies. It's going to be language agnostic, and a lot more. But I think we're going to dive into that a little towards the end here.
That's so cool. I'm really excited. Again, this is not just this is a stream for our audience. I'm also really invested in seeing all this as well. I'm super excited to actually see the validator bit as well. One thing that I did want to mention, and for those of you that joined last week's stream, you already know this, but the creator of Gecko Gods actually uses Odin. And so I believe that we saw some of the Odin touch in the scene when he was sharing. So yeah, it's just a really great example of, Odin being a tool that is actively being used in development. And that kind of transitions to a perfect question, perfect next question, which is really, who is Odin for? Is this just for people who are going to production that, they have a big scaled game, or who is this perfect for?
Everyone having Unity installed and using it on their computer, I would say. I know that's probably what any marketing guy would say, but in this case, it's actually pretty true, because it doesn't really matter if you're a hobbyist or if you're building AAA games, whatever. You can Odin offers functionality that kind of goes into whatever level of developer you are. If you're just a hobbyist, you might use it for something simple that I think we're going to see a little bit later on your stream, Joy, just adding some buttons to some of your methods, or just that kind of ease of use and small productivity optimizations in your everyday workflow. But if you're a AAA company or whatever, you might actually start building entire tooling pipelines with it, and really start seeing the efficiency and workflow optimization that it can bring there. So it's really and it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. We see it used in gaming. We see it used in industry like manufacturing. Whatever, architecture, film, we have users in kind of all categories. So it's really just a way to make working in Unity a lot easier, and also optimize it for people who are not developers. So for example, if you have a big design team or whatever, to kind of make Unity easier to work with for those people as well. And which we're going to dive into later, that's become a lot easier. So now that artists and designers can actually also create their own tooling with our new visual designer, which doesn't require any code at all. So we're kind of trying to to make Odin fit for, well, everyone out there, and it should be accessible to everyone. Everyone should have the ability to kind of, optimize their workflow and make Unity fit to exactly what they need Unity to do for them specifically.
Great. Well, with that, why don't we take a look at what Odin looks like in Unity? And we're actually going to start with a very simple use case, and it's actually the thing that convinced me that Odin belonged in my own personal development. So let's go ahead and take a look at my screen. Twataha. So we've got a very simple scene set up. We could see that if I go over into the actual scene view and select, we've got just a basic UI. And the idea here is that the panel is supposed to pop up as an option when a certain thing happens in the game. But I haven't written the functionality for the pop-up to be called, but I do have that movement going, and it would be really great to test that before I build the other systems. Now, before Odin, what I would have to do is go through and just like hook up a temporary button or something to click to test this, but it was always a lot of extra work. And so the thing that revolutionized my personal development is the following. So I've just got the simple script. I'm going to hop into it. Da-da-da. And it's very basic. It just has a show panel and a hide panel, and then just some variables in order to grab the panel and talk about the animation. I'm doing do-tween for the animation for the UI. So I want to be able to test different eases. And so it's just a very simple scene, simple script. But I want to be able to test the show and the hide panel. And with Odin, you could do that. And so let me show you what changed everything for me. Like, you guys already know, but let me show the audience. So using, there we go, Odin Inspector. I did this. And I saved. And I went back into Unity. And I saw that a button just appears in the inspector, and I thought there's no way. Absolutely no way. It's not that easy, right? So now I go into the scene. And, oop, of course something's going to go wrong in a live thing. All right, let's figure out what happened here. Why are we not? Oh, goodness. Well, I'll add button here as well. Go. We've got everything going on good, of course. Apologies, guys. I promise you it really works just fine. We've got this assigned to the canvas. We got the panel in. Let's add this in really quickly. Oh, did I accidentally add in the wrong panel when I created the prefab? That was probably exactly what happened. There we go. Boop. Yay. So ignoring user error, hopefully you could see that everything just became available for me to test immediately by just adding literally a tag. So I didn't have to hook up any extra button to be able to test that animation property. Now I could simply go in and focus in on trying out different ease types. So now I could just say, oh, I want to try in bounce, and then hide the panel, and there we go. We get to be able to test different animation types really quickly, directly from the script, and it's simple as that. So that's what really changed the whole approach that I was having towards experimenting and working within the editor. And then I started diving in a little bit more deeply. I thought, okay, so the buttons are really awesome, but what else can Odin do? And I became aware of box groups and the idea of organizing scripts for more readability within the editor in a way that made sense for me. Because a lot of people, I think, have this issue where if you're just looking at a line of variables, it can be a little bit hard to identify what is what after a little bit of time. So I decided to give the box groups a try. And so I wanted to separate out the animation properties from this script. So I literally just looked up box group and I discovered that it's literally just like this. And that's it. So I'm just going to add this to anything that I want in a separate group. I just copied and pasted that. And then when I go back into Unity, load this in, ta-da! We now have a dedicated group for the different animation properties. And this seems like a simple thing, but I think developers can really appreciate how these minor little changes to scripts make usability such a big deal when you're developing. So this is where it all started for me. This is actually where I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy Odin because I saw the buttons in a tutorial. And then as soon as I paused the tutorial and I wouldn't purchase Odin. And I'm like, I got to try this out. I got to do it. And I haven't looked back since. So this is really it as far as getting in and doing basic changes with Odin. And so what I want to do is, first of all, say thank you guys. That's really awesome. But I want to show off what I do in my personal development now for real, because I have started moving beyond just like the basic simple groups. And I've started using a new tool that you guys have, which is Visual Designer. So let me go ahead and jump over here into a new scene.
I just want to add real quick. I think that's how it starts for a lot of people, Joy. Oh, I can add buttons. That's really cool. And then they add buttons and they're like, oh, I can also do this. Oh, and I can also do this and this and this. And then, that's how they kind of get hooked. I think that's, it's a pretty standard, journey you've been on there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That entry point of, oh, this one thing is really super cool. Wait a minute, there's more. And I think really the point where you get just curious enough to go and check documentation, that's where it's just, you go downhill. It's like, oh, look at this cool thing. Look at this cool thing. And that's how we end up with this. So this is a real life example of how I use Odin in an actual game that I'm working on. And you can see that everything is really nicely organized for me. Again, this is very specific. And what's really cool is that you can really customize things to make sense for yourself. And there's a lot going on here, but I do want to mention that I did not do any of this through code. I did it by going to 3 dots, going to Odin, and customize in Visual Designer. Ta-da! So this blew my mind when I first discovered Visual Designer, because I was used to just writing stuff in scripts. And while that is really handy, there's always a little bit of, a slowdown where you're doing something in script, you're bouncing between Unity and Visual Studio, and, there's always that reload time, and, that stuff adds up. But then Visual Designer is instant. And so if I wanted to create a group like I did before, I don't need to type anything. I literally just have to, oops, I just clicked that, just group. Look they're all here. So I can, grab a horizontal group. And if I wanted to move things around, I literally can just drag and drop. And instantly you saw it change. So I'll move, this is crazy to me. When this started happening, I started just going in and just randomly adding things. I'm like, okay, let me go and add an attribute. I don't know, color. GUI color. Sure, that seems fine. What's this button do? And literally I went through exploring and look at you guys, seriously. It's such a cool thing. And the fact that this can be done in real time, there's no bouncing back and forth. I do, we were talking about this. I have 2 monitors, but my habit is to actually put Visual Studio right on top of Unity, just because that's been my development process. So it does take time for me to bounce back and forth between the two. But this eliminates it completely. And it's just so cool. And it gives you the opportunity to really start experimenting around. You start really thinking about what does it mean to make your scripts more usable, because they're right there and you could experiment right away. So If I go to, I'm not going to.
Another,
oh, go ahead.
so you mentioned experimenting. I think another important thing to mention with the visual designer is that now it's also a lot safer to experiment, because I mean, everything that all configurations that you do in the visual designer is no longer stored anywhere in your project's code base. It's stored in a completely separate custom, human readable file format outside of your project. So it's not going to go in either to put anything in your script and mess anything in your project up. And it's also not gonna cause any unnecessary code clutter by attributes all over the place or whatever. So that's a big plus, I think, as well. After we added the visual designer in, I think it was November that we launched that. So that's been a big something that we've heard from people. Reduce code clutter and just the safety of being able to experiment and try out things. And obviously a lot easier to experiment because you can also just drag things around, be like, do I like this? No. Do I like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to drive that point home, I just opened up the script that we were just looking at, and you could see that there is nothing. There aren't any tags. The namespace isn't even in there. It's just my script. And so it is a really great way to keep things really nice and organized. I also wanted to point out, if I open up this script, I started doing things to help myself. So I think a lot of people have the functionality to lock the cursor into the scene view when I'm working, but that's not always useful for development. So I actually created a little setting section here that reminded me, hey, I could tick and untick this. And I also put in a little information box that said, hey, this is what this does, in case you forget later on, as I have a tendency to do if I leave a project for a while. Now, the cursor is obviously a little bit more obvious, but there are so many situations where I would come back to a project after, months away and think, what is this for? Well, now I can leave notes for myself. And that is such a great quality of a life thing that it's just, I absolutely love doing it. And I do it whenever I think there's a chance that I'm going to forget what one value does.
Yes, or if you're collaborating on a bigger team, right?
Yeah.
And you're bouncing between different scenes, and you might not have worked in this part of the project before, or whatever. Just notes for people knowing how to basically, like, how you've organized your inspector and what the different things does, and that can be quite useful as well. It definitely speeds up the onboarding process for different people.
Absolutely. And actually, on that note, there's something that I have always wanted to understand how to do, and I wonder if I can get you guys to show me. So in a scenario where you are working with a team, and maybe a few of the members aren't necessarily that technical, and there's a fear that maybe they're going to accidentally click on some value or clear something that shouldn't be clear. Let's say, for example, I've got over here in the camera focus script, I've got some input action references. How would I go about hiding those away, like maybe with a Boolean or something? So it's kind of like hey, don't touch this unless you're a programmer. So is there a way to actually hide these from the inspector unless some specific thing was checked or occurs?
Yeah, sure. I think we should start by just adding a bool to the script itself. So that's what will be the thing that controls if it's visual or not.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and just bool, and let's just call this show inputs. There you go.
Perfect. And then normally with Odin, you could do the same thing we're going to do now in code as well, right? But just for to show it off, we're going to do it with the visual designer. So in this case, we just right-click any of the fields or open it that way. That's also possible. Yes.
Oh, you could. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you do it that way, you get the small window, right, where you can do quick changes if you don't need the whole context. And then if you need the bigger window, you can still click on the icon you have on the top right of that window.
If I actually Sorry, I accidentally, let's pop that
That's
up.
all right.
So that's what you
So
get, and then,
Nope.
No, if you open the other one, the small one, and then next to the close button, there is another icon that you can press. And then this one gives you the whole thing if you need it, right?
that's super cool.
So, and now one way to sort of control how it's or if it's visual or not is you could do it for each field. So if you only want to hide one field or two, maybe you want to do it that way. But an even better way, if you have like multiple fields like we have right now, is to actually use the show if group. So similar to the box group you showed and all of that, there's actually a group that you can use to do that. So you click the that button exactly, and just search for the show if group.
Okay.
Awesome. And then you just drag in the fields you want to conditionally hide.
Okay.
So
And could I put a group within a group? Like, so could I take the entire input action references group, or should I just take the individual?
you can take the entire thing, yes.
Ooh. Okay.
All right. And now you can click on the pen icon in the top group, because that's and not that one, the one above it.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
the
guy?
show if group. You're in the box group now, I think.
Oh.
Or in the title
Yeah.
group.
Exactly.
There we go.
There you go.
So now we're basically editing the properties of the show if group, and you can see where it says visible if. That's sort of the like the logic behind it, right? In which case it's visible, and the condition exactly. And for this case, it would just be the name of the variable we just created, right? Which is show inputs. So you just type it exactly as you did.
Whoa. Okay, cool. So that's so cool. Look at that. So obviously I'd want to like move the input boolean down, but wow.
I mean, you can
so cool.
can do it right now through the designer, right? You can just
Yeah.
pick it up, drag it down, and there you go.
That took like 3 minutes at most, and most of it was me messing up clicking on things. That's incredible. That was so easy.
Yeah, and now that
so
it's set up, right? If you have ever like any new fields or anything, you just drag them into the group and it just works, right? So it's like you do it once and then you have it for everything.
Oh gosh, that's so cool. I'm gonna just save these changes right here. That is absolutely incredible. And you know, obviously I have the advantage of having people from Odin guiding me on how to do this, but I know that you guys also have really robust documentation, which I've already touched on before. So I'm actually going to just drop that link in the chat. So if you're ever curious about what to do, like as far as like what specific feature, you could definitely check it out in documentation. There's one thing that I do want to call out as well that I thought was really cool though. Oh. So if I go back to Visual Designer, and if I click on just any random thing and I add an attribute, all of these attributes are actually documented. So you can click on the little info guy and then just see what they do. So I've actually been using this a lot more lately than just going straight up to the documentation, because it's all just here in Unity. So I found that extraordinarily helpful. So I just wanted to flag that as well. So this is how Odin can be used in a very small use case. This is like my own personal development. I am creating scripts that are just for me, but obviously Odin can do way more. And so let's go ahead and let's see what Odin can really look like when you put on some real shine to it. And I believe that we have a cool project to showcase that.
Yes. Yeah, because it's really dependent on what you have in your script, right? Because I mean, that the script you had there was basically just made up of a bunch of floats. So what you could do with that, I mean, you could obviously add some fancy sliders and whatnot, and you know, minimum or maximum validation rules and or stuff like that. But I mean, we could also have organized it a little bit nicer in some people's minds, maybe. But if that's how you want it organized, I mean, it's all up to the individual, right? But yeah. Sorry, take it away, Antonio.
Yeah, Antonio, show us the shine.
Awesome. So I have like a little FPS scene set up here, and for the weapons, we have some scriptable objects that sort of hold all the information about the weapons, right? And I've already gone ahead and sort of used Odin to design the inspector, right? So you can see I have like a bunch of tabs in here, and normally you would just see them all in a row, right? And I can even show how that would look. So if I go to the preference real quick and just disable Odin, you would see this would basically be how the inspector would normally look, right? So there's a lot of drop downs. You can't really see what's going on. So if I enable Odin again, we can see that I have like a bunch of cool sliders here, progress bars, enum toggle buttons, which is basically, right, if you have an enum, normally you would have a drop down. But often if you just have a few options, you just want to see them all in line and click on it, right? And also this way you just see which options you have without opening the drop down in the first place. I added some sliders here for the float values, some unit fields. So here, for example, I have like a spread angle, and it's set to 1.5, but it's actually a degree value, as you can see here. So I can like start going in, and if I had, for example, let's say it would be a minute field, right? And I would want to save it as seconds. So the programmer works with seconds, but the designer works with minutes, for example, right? So the designer could be in here, could write 1 minute, right? And then it would show him 1 minute, but in the code it would actually be saved as 60 seconds. So the actual underlying value is 60. So it sort of just translates it into the value you wanted to have. And there's like a bunch of built-in ones. So we have like, as you can see here, we have for distance, energy, area force, like everything you can imagine is in here. And you can see how if I type in like 100 newtons, then it shows it to you here. And this is also what would happen in code.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's actually one of the features.
Again, like, don't mind me. I'm just going to continue to nerd out about this, but like even things as small as that is just like such a cool functionality.
Yeah, we have like a bunch of hidden stuff like that that's not really well known, but actually pretty useful once you know it, right? So that's why I wanted to mention it. But here I left one tab purposefully like blank. It's basically how the default inspector would look like. And I wanted to go in and sort of use the visual designer a bit to see how you could change this live, right? So similar to what we did just now, but with like a bigger example. And I think we can just start with the icon right here, right? So normally we'd have a normal object field, but let's say I want to actually see the texture behind it, or like this sprite behind it. Odin has an attribute for that, which you can also apply through code, but in this case we're going to do it through the designer. And then we can go in and set some different values, do like an alignment, right? And if I do this real quick. There we go. So now I have have it at 100 height, and maybe I want the icon to be on the left and then have the values on the right, so to save some vertical space. So what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to create a group. I'm just going to do something magic and take one of the fields and just put it next to the icon field. And there we go. Now we have the icon on the left side. We have the display name on the right side, and I can just drag in the other ones right next to it.
I actually discovered this by accident, by the way, when I was dragging something, and then I saw that it was able to go over, and it was like, what? So it's really cool to see this done on purpose.
It's pretty awesome. And most people that sort of jump from Odin code to the visual designer sort of tend to also then use horizontal groups a lot, right? But now you actually don't even have to do that. Or you can even just drag it next to it, and it will work the same way. And I mean, let's go ahead and remove the label from the icon, because it's pretty clear what it is. So we can just do another attribute, hide the label. Now it's gone, and it also doesn't need this entire space, right? So we're just gonna say you get 100 pixels, and is it saved? Oh, no, it's not saved. There we go.
That's awesome.
So now we have done 100 pixels. We have all the things next to each other, right? And then the next thing might be to sort of, maybe we want to highlight the display name, right? Because that's super important. So we can just go ahead and do the color, the GUI color. And then say we want it to be green, for example, right? We even have like a nice color picker here with like preset colors. You can even add your own presets into this list if you want to. You can even go in here and just write the name of the color, right? So you could do red. I don't know. I should do should do the altitudes. You could do red, or you could do blue, or you could even write code in it if you wanted to. So if you want to mix the code in the Visual Designer, you could do this as well. But as you can see, that's sort of the workflow you would have. You just open the Visual Designer, do the changes real quick, and then if you're happy with your loadout, with your how you align stuff, right, then it could look like the other ones here, right? And then you might want to have your own custom attributes, right? Because Odin allows you to do your own attributes very easily. And I've prepared one custom attribute actually to showcase. So right here, I just have like an audio clip draw, right? And to make sure that it shows up in the Visual Designer, you just add this one line, right? So you register the attribute through the assembly, and then the code below is just the actual code for the draw and for the attribute. So if I go into the designer now, and I look for the draw, so I just do audio clip. You can see I have like a custom
Oh, that's so cool.
drop down, and I have my own draw in here, able to just apply to the thing. So now I have applied it, and you can see it change immediately. You have the SFX, and this is basically my own drawing. And like we did before, we can say, well, I want it a bit higher maybe. I don't need the info below it. And maybe I want the wave color to be white and the background color to be black. And now I have my own thing custom, right?
That's so awesome. And geez, like already it just increases usability so significantly, because you're going from just like, you know, a title to actually like a waveform that you could play. So it's not just like, oh, I hope this is the one that I'm thinking of. You could actually validate very easily right there yourself.
Exactly.
I think this is.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Antonio.
I was just about to say you don't have to ask a programmer anymore to apply these things for you, right?
Yeah.
You can just like tell them to sort of give you all the little custom snippets that you want, right? If you want custom functionality besides what Odin already has, and then the designer can decide himself like which ones he wants to look this way, or add ones that maybe were missed, right? Or maybe it's a completely new script and the coder hasn't come around to adding anything to it, right? And you're not stuck at that point. You can just do it yourself, which I think is really powerful.
Yeah, and I think this is a pretty good point to what you asked earlier. Who's it for? Because I mean, it kind of goes as far as you need to take it. There's really no limits. Obviously, I think we ship with a little over 130 attributes, like right out of the box, like built-in attributes. But those will get 99% of the people using Odin probably all the way that they need to go. But even if you need more complexity or more customization, you can just build on top of that and add your own attributes, or you know how whatever you need to do to build out the tooling pipeline that you need. So the people saying that you're limited to a certain amount of attributes, or like you put yourself in this box if you're using, that's not true, because you can just expand as much as you want. And yeah, it works seamless. Also, I don't think we mentioned that it works perfectly if you still want to do things in code, like you used to do, Joy, as well, and like all of Odin's users have been doing for the past 7 years. You can still do that, and the Visual Designer, simultaneously as a hybrid model. Everything you add in code will also show up in the Visual Designer, so yeah, basically everything drawn by Odin anywhere in your project will be shown in the Visual Designer.
You can actually see it
that's
right here.
Yeah.
I just opened the editor for one of the fields, and you can see that it has enum toggle buttons on it. And this small icon here, the C# one, tells you that this attribute was added through code and not through the
That's so
the
cool.
Visual Designer. And if it had properties, right, this one is a very simple attribute, so there's no configuration you have to do. But if it had properties on it or fields on it, then you would see them in here. So the attribute could be added through code, but you can still augment it through the Visual Designer. So the mix there is perfectly valid.
So this really gives an opportunity for, let's say there is a team where, the programmer is more comfortable using Odin the, older way, like through script. They could be doing their own thing, but if they have somebody on their team that, is maybe a designer who's maybe just discovered Odin and feels like the visual designer is much more approachable for them, like both members of the team aren't going to be stepping on each other and still be able to create the tools as they need it.
Yep.
That's great.
That's exactly right.
I saw something in chat. I see chat starting to talk about AI and stuff. So I think I just wanted to address that real quick, because obviously that is something we know that AI is very good at, is creating editor tooling. But I just want to address that AI is incredibly good at understanding Odin, and we've specifically made the new custom format that the visual designer configurations are stored in very easy to be understood by AI. So I think if you're using AI to create your custom editor tooling, doing it through a tool like Odin even just makes it more powerful in a way, because first of all, you're not injecting a ton of custom AI editor code into your project that you don't really know what's going on. Also, the fact if you do it through custom editor code, you are kind of stuck with the tooling that it gives you, right? Like if you need to make a small tweak anywhere, you basically have to go and tell it to write a new tool for you. So it's not very maintainable or scalable. But if you actually decide to do it, there was actually a really cool video made by a YouTuber just, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, where he created AI skills for using the visual designer and that file format. If you do it through there, you can get basically all of the tooling that you need, because it's so defined what you can do. So AI, but the very powerful thing is you can have AI get you basically what you need, but as soon as if you want to develop, like evolve it, or if you need to maintain it or scale it in the future, then you just go in the visual designer and you can make all those small tweaks and make it exactly how you like it. And the fact that it's also not adding code to your project, I think that's a pretty big deal, because there's no danger of it messing up any of your code. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Antonio, but I just felt like I wanted to address that. And we're also working on making some more official AI skill that works with Odin, or something along those lines, for the near future. So that'll be, it can be a tool that empowers your tool creation through AI, and not having to necessarily replace it completely. Yeah.
I mean, I would like to add one thing. I also saw a question earlier that sort of is related to the file format as well, and through this sort of not breaking the code, right? Someone was asking if they could share, or what would happen if they would share the project or the files, right? And normally with Odin, so without the visual designer, you would share the project files, and then obviously your code would have all the attributes in it that Odin uses, and you would have compiler errors, right? Because they don't have Odin. So now with the visual designer, you can just ship it with the files as well that the visual designer creates, because those on their own don't do anything, right? Without the Odin code. And people can just import your project, and they won't have any compiler errors in it because of it. They won't have the Unity or the Odin inspectors as well, right? But at least you don't have any errors. And then if you decide to get Odin in the future and you import it into the project, you would still immediately see the benefits, right? Because you still have all the designer files in it, or maybe you just want to share the designer files with a friend or whatever, right? So it sort of improves on that problem that we had with people not really being able to share the code anywhere, because it's so intermingled with Odin. And that doesn't happen anymore. So I think someone asked that, and I wanted to make sure.
We had a lot of content creators specifically who was like, oh, I love using Odin, I just want to use it in my projects and stuff like that, but they couldn't use it in their videos because they always share their They always share their projects in the description, and they're like, I can't ship with Odin because it will break for the people who don't have Odin. So we heard a lot of people who were very happy when that wasn't the case anymore with the new file format and the Visual Designer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really incredible. I didn't even think about that fact, but yeah, that, is something that you do hear fairly often, is like, that is a problem of seeing a lot of compiling errors, but I think that's such a great way to solve that issue, and also such an encouragement to be like, hey, you saw how cool my scripts were. If you grab Odin, they'll just pop up and work. So that's really awesome. Really fantastic.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but that's right. That's true.
It's like, the scripts just work. Fantastic. But if you want them to look really good, it's just that secret add-in. I want to call out on Twitch. Now, Konhito says, hi, not a question, but I just wanted to thank you for Odin. It's such a really great tool in general. So getting a lot of love in the chat for Odin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've been talking a lot about Odin Inspector, which of course makes sense. This is, I think, the tool that people are most familiar with. But as you mentioned at the top of the stream, there's more to Odin than just Inspector. And there's another tool, Odin Validator, which is really valuable for production. And I'd love to learn a little bit more about it and see it in use. So Antonio, could you kind of showcase what Odin Validator is all about and why it's so cool?
Yeah, sure. Before we start, I just want to show real quick that even without Odin Validator, we already have some really nice validation attributes as well.
Oh, right.
So, for example, here with the fire rate right now, I can make it go negative, right? Which in this project isn't a valid state. It might be in yours, but it isn't in this one. So I can just go ahead and add the attributes. And say I want to have a minimum value, right? And in this case, I want the minimum value to be 0. It's already there. Perfect. And now you can see if I try to do any other value, right, it sort of immediately errors and just makes it stick to 0. And if I was to sort of change this value, right, let's say I didn't have, let me provoke the error real quick. Let's say I do the min value is -10. I do this, and then I say, let's say 0. Right. So now I have provoked the error, and now I can actually open the Odin Validator, right? Because let's imagine I didn't have the scriptable object open, right, to see that there is an error. Maybe I just wanted to tell me for my entire project what are the issues, right? And that's where the Odin Validator comes in. You can sort of let it validate in the background. So as you do changes, it will just keep scanning your projects and your scenes and see if there's anything wrong. And then as soon as you make a mistake, it would immediately show you, hey, the thing you're editing right now, whatever you just input, for example, is wrong, right? And so instead of waiting sort of for the errors to pile up as you create a project, and then you go to build, and all of a sudden something's broken, right? You see it immediately as you type in the values, right? Or maybe you are someone that is new to the project and you don't even know that the value you just typed in isn't really something that should be there, right? And then the validator would just scream at you and tell you, hey, you can't do that, right? So right now you can see I have like a bunch of warnings and errors in here. For example, for this object for the NPC 1, the health is 0, and in this project that's not valid. So we can go in here and say, well, actually it's 100, right? And we can see that it immediately gets removed from the list in here. And we could do the same for armor and speed, but it's basically the same thing, right? So speed is 100. You can see it's fixed. And then for some issues that might be like this is very data specific issues, but it could also help you if you have a issue with materials, for example, or with shaders. So in here I have like another scene, and from out here it looks great, but as soon as you go zoom in a bit, you can see that the LOD material for this object is broken, right? So if I open the validator, I can immediately see I have 1,000 errors in here right now, so that's not good. But I can see here that there's a missing material, and I have a bunch of them, right? So most of these are just missing materials because there's a lot of these objects in the scene right now. And now I could go into the object right now, like you would usually do, and one by one change the material and fix it. But that's tedious,
It takes
right?
forever.
That takes forever, exactly. So instead, what the validator allows you to do is just to click on an issue, and this icon here, as you can see, it tells you that this is an issue, but it also has a fix attached to it, right? So it has a button that you can press that automatically fixes it for you. And obviously, not every validator has that option, right? Because maybe it's like your value is must be above 100, right? But we can't really tell which value you want it to be, so there's no automatic fix for that. But in this case, we know, okay, we just want to select the material and give it to all of the missing ones. So in this case, I'm gonna...
and for the other cases, unless you can go in and add a custom fix for it, right, and apply it in bulk. But then you would need to go in and obviously do it, define what that fix should be, and then click the bulk fixing.
Exactly. It just depends on your project. What is the fix for it? Like for a material, it's pretty obvious, right? Because if the material is broken, the fix is pretty universal. But for more like project-specific stuff, you can still go in and define your own fixes and run those if you want. And those also work the same way with bulk fixing and everything in the same system. So I have this one selected, and now I'm going to click on here for the bulk fix issues, right? And now I can see only those issues isolated. So a bunch of different locations, demo islands, the assets themselves are broken, right? And now I'm just going to select the proper material. In this case, I think it's actually material props. And then I'm just going to click Fix Now. And all the issues, I think that it was like 500 or something, are gone, and all the objects have the correct
in one click, you fixed that many. And I'm just visualizing how long that would have taken to do the traditional way versus like the 5 seconds it took to like remember which material was the right one and then just put it in like that. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like that's hours. You just saved hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ideally it would never come to this place, right? Because you would always have the validator running in the background, and as soon as you have one missing, then you would just see immediately, hey, something's wrong, and then you can fix it right there.
Right.
So you can also see like now I have all the fixed ones in here. But let's say we have like a level designers, right? They placed all the props in the level, and they made like a small mistake, right? So for example, here this chair is floating, it's not grounded. It's the same with like this umbrella, and I can actually see that in here, right? So you see that the umbrella has ungrounded renders, and as soon as I sort of take this and just put it down, you can see it gets the green tick and lets me know now it's grounded, right? And if I was somewhere here in the scene, right, and I was working on something completely different, then I would also just immediately see the issue here. Click on it, it would jump to the object and could just take it real quick, put it down, and I was grounded. The issue is gone. And that's sort of to demonstrate that it's not only about data, it's also extremely useful for level designers, for example, right? And if you go in and you sort of create your own validators, then the more you create, the more useful it gets, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And future issues won't come up anymore.
Yeah, and just like with Odin Inspector, it's I mean, the sky is really the limit. I mean, it depends. You can do what you like. You can go as complex as you basically want to with this, right? There's so much room for customizability. So this can also be useful for smaller either one-person projects or hundreds of people's teams. So yeah.
No, this is really like I'm already visualizing ways in which this could be really helpful, because it's funny that you showed like things floating in the air, but like in a previous project I had, I did actually have one part of a procedural level that was floating, and it actually got to the vertical slice that I was showcasing to people, and the thought of is like, how did I miss something so obvious. But when you're busy in production, obviously things like this can slip through. But I could see how the validator is really kind of like safeguards for your project, right? Where it's going to capture all of those really obvious things that you should have noticed. And in this case where you've added it into a project where there's so many problems already, feels like a really quick way to go through and fix things, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But also, like you mentioned, having it in there from the very beginning, it's catching those mistakes before you have the opportunity to make them. And there's so much value in that. Like, I would much prefer to take like the 0.2 seconds to fix a problem when it's like, hey, you messed this up, versus waiting till the end.
Yeah, it's I don't know if how many of these issues that you manufactured in the boat attack demo. Did you do them yourself, or
Some of them are, some aren't. Yeah.
okay? 'Cause it's just we did another webinar kind of thing, and we actually just pulled up the boat attack demo like as it shipped from Unity, right? Because we wanted to see like, hey, if we throw the validator in here, what happens, right? And there were obviously issues. I mean, because and I imagine it has been through quite a few QA processes and everything. But if you don't have proper validation, issues are just gonna come through the cracks. So having a proper validation pipeline can just be so useful. Even though you think you have a really strong. I'm not saying you shouldn't do QA or anything like that. I'm just saying that you can save a lot of time towards also the end of production, right? If you just catch all of those small errors and issues and bugs and whatnot that shows up along the line, and really have a solid build at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's actually take a look at the scene again, because I just wanted to point something out. Can you zoom back so we can kind of get a sense of like the scale here? Like the boat attack demo is gigantic. It's a massive scene. And one of the things that we corrected, of course, was like there was an umbrella that was floating. So when you think about like the scale of a project that's being developed versus the scale of like one of the issues, like it's obviously very easy to overlook something as small as like, because the umbrella wasn't that high off the ground. It was just like, like very, very little off. But these are the things that the players are going to notice, right? Because they're right there. They're boots on the ground with their controller. And so they're going to see these things and think, oh, how did the development team possibly miss this? But this is what the development team's looking at, right? Like you're looking at the whole thing. You're looking at like the systems, the actual functionality. So something like an umbrella floating above the ground can absolutely slip through, but this would call it out and really give the team an opportunity to fix these problems that might traditionally be thought of as lazy, completely overlooking everything else that goes into making a game.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a very, very valid point there, Joy.
Yes, and you could even be in like a completely different scene, right? Because it's not only the open scene you're looking at that it checks, unless you only wanted to. It can also check all the other scenes, right? So you might already be done with the level, think everything is all right. You're working on a completely different one, and you decide, okay, I just want to make sure everything is fine. You run the validator like once, right? And see, oh well, in the level I just finished, there's actually some stuff I have to fix before I continue working on this one.
Yeah. And the automatic scene switching, that's a pretty neat feature too, I think. If you go and inspect a bug, it'll automatically take you to the scene that it's in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a really great feature as well. We actually have a question from Twitch. From C. Strachan wants to know, can Validator tell me what is not being used in my project so I could strip down my source code?
It can't do that, so it doesn't do source code validation at all. What it can tell you is if you have missing scripts, for example, right, and sort of remove them, but it doesn't touch your code at all.
Okay, good. Excellent. So now we are approaching the time where we're going to be opening things up to Q&A. So chat, if you have any questions about anything, Odin Inspector, Odin Validator, please go ahead and drop them in, and I will start opening up Q&A. And in the meantime, just a little bit of information about Odin. So Andreas, you have, or Odin has a 90-day free trial. Is that correct?
Yes. Odin has a 90-day trial, completely, no strings attached. Don't even have to enter credit card information or anything. It's fully featured both for, Serializer is open source, so you can get that regardless of anything. But the trial both give you access to Odin Inspector and Validator, and all its features. So go try it out, and I hope you'll like it if you do.
Good, very good. Just a follow up to the previous question. It was more actually about finding a good way to scrub a project for assets and scripts not being used. So that probably, is that something that would be kind of a different use case rather than Validator, or would Validator be able to identify like an asset that's in the project but isn't being implemented in any of the scenes?
It doesn't do any of that right now. You could technically add your own global validator, right? That does it for you, but that's and then you would see the issues in the same window, right? You would have the same workflow, but the actual implementation of that would still be up to you in that case.
Gotcha. Excellent. All right. So, as some, oh, it's funny. Astro in YouTube chat asked, when will PanGUI be available publicly? That actually is what I was going to be touching on here momentarily. So you mentioned PanGUI in passing at the top of the stream. But can you tell us a little bit more detail about what PanGUI is all about, and, kind of give us some ideas about when that's going to be available for users?
Yes. First of all, PanGUI is a cross-platform UI library. That's I think I mentioned that before, but it's going to have zero dependencies at all. And it's going to be language agnostic. Right now it's written in C#, but next we'll be targeting C++, C, Rust, so forth. And so that means that you'll actually be able to use the library in whatever language you're writing natively, which is pretty unique. And I'm sure Antonio, he's the one sitting actively developing it right now as well, so he can probably tell you a lot more about the technical specifics. But we think there's a big problem in the software industry right now with the tech stack in general. I'm not saying that we're going to solve the entire problem, but we're at least going to try and solve the UI part of it. Because whenever the tech stack out there has just gotten so enormously bloated, and whenever you try and download a package of anything, really, you just get 500 different dependencies. And if you're just trying to download a UI system, framework, library, whatever you want to call it, you download 4 gigabytes of worth of things, and it just makes it so fragile, the entire tech stack. So we're kind of taking not just one step back, but 10 steps back, and looked at this. We have to be able to do this better, and we have succeeded in doing that. And that has amounted to PanGUI, and it's proven to be incredibly performant. I don't know if you want to pull up the website. I think I'm streaming it now.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's PanGUI. Right now our website basically works as a white paper. So if you're interested in learning more about that, go on here, and here's one of an audio demo that we've created, and we also have some blogs where we kind of give some insight into the development, where things are and whatnot. And we've actually just reached a really interesting milestone. I would say we've been actively researching and developing this for 5 years now, and
wow.
we have just reached the point where we actually just as much building with Pangui instead of just building Pangui. So we've really started building with it. All sorts of small, demo projects, and just kind of. Oh yeah, this is Antonio. He did a whole controls demo, which is freaking awesome. And we have just started pulling more people into the closed alpha, and we'll continue expanding that exponentially while we're working through an open beta. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
Super cool.
all I can say is if you want to get your hands on it, you can very soon.
So incoming shortly. And
Incoming shortly.
I have dropped the link in chat to the site if you want to read everything that that's being shown on screen here. And you also have a Discord for Pangui, right?
Yes,
So
we also
dropping
have a
that in chat
Discord,
as well.
and yes.
So go ahead and jump in on that if you are interested as well. I certainly am looking forward to learning more about it. And all of these animations are super cool, so I want to go in and read about it myself. Cool. And actually, on that note, we mentioned the Pangui Discord, but of course, Odin has a dedicated Discord as well, which I am dropping in the chat there. So if you want to join that, you absolutely can. And it looks like, yeah, a lot of people are just really pleased with Odin in general and just think it's very cool, which is great. Last call for any questions, but I think we are at a pretty good place. So, yeah.
I think there's one.
Excellent.
There's one I
Oh.
might want to answer. Just to go
Oh,
back to
yeah.
the validator real quick. Someone asked how the validator compares to the auditor from Unity. And I don't have much experience with it, but I think the auditor is like workflow wise, you like hit play, right? You start it up and it sort of scans your project. And the difference is that the validator is made to work alongside of you, right? So while you work with it, it sort of gives you continuous live feedback instead of having to pause everything that you do like a full scan that might take like 10 minutes or whatever. And then you get like a huge report of everything you have done, right? That's sort of the difference. I just wanted to make sure that's clear.
No, that's a wonderful call out. Great. Well, excellent. Yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today and showing us all of the cool stuff that you could do with Odin. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. You can access Odin if you're interested with a 90-day trial on their website. And of course, Odin, as always, is available on the asset store. So whichever way you're interested in checking it out, please do. If you found the stream interesting and you want to explore further, documentation is available on their website as well as some really awesome, robust tutorials.
And I believe it's on sale right now.
Oh,
it is.
And
on the asset store, is it? Yep.
And it's on sale on the asset store. So if you are interested in just picking it up rather than the 30-day trial or the 90-day trial, excuse me, much better than 30 days, the 90-day trial, definitely go ahead and take a peek. Whichever way, Odin is a fantastic tool. And hey, I personally can vouch for it. I use it in my own production. So yeah. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed seeing all of the cool stuff, both in Odin Inspector and in Validator that you showed off.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. And and if you want to get access to Pangui, you can sign up for the beta on our website. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick. As always, if you have more questions regarding that, just join our Discord. That's the best way to really get in contact with us and hear all the updates and ask any questions that you might have. I think that's all I wanted to end off with.
Perfect. And I do want to say in chat over on Twitch, C. Strachan says, okay, I'll put Odin into my current project and try it out some. You got one convert. Congratulations, you guys. Excellent. So thank you again. Okay, you guys, so this is the end of this stream. Be sure to join us next week. We've got a really awesome stream coming up. Stay tuned for information on that. I think you'll be really interested in next week's topic. In the meantime, check out Odin if this sounds really cool to you. Again, I like it, and I hope that this stream showed you some features that could be useful to your own productions. So that's that. Remember to join us next week, and until then, keep creating. Bye.